My name is Sierra Von Bergen, and this is my presentation on the short fiction. Um, the story that I talked about was Kaplan's short story, Doe Season, and I really focused on the discrimination theme that was really evident throughout the story. It was clear to see this theme happen over and over again, and the main points that I pulled out was the shaming of age and the shaming of gender, and the toll that it takes on someone's confidence. However, at the end of the story, you are able to see how Andy, the main character, was able to prove herself and the capability that she had to those who were telling her that she couldn't do it, but as well as herself and regaining her confidence. And a main thesis was no matter what you're being discriminated about, it hurts and affects that person who's on the other side of discrimination. The first point that I'm going to talk about is the age. At the beginning of the story, Charlie, who is Andy's dad's friend, talks about how Andy is too young to be on the trip. He has no idea why she's taking along and why her dad would bring her, because she's 9 years old and his son Mac is only 2 years older, so it's really confusing why he is concerned about her age when it's only a 2 years age difference. But he's also concerned about how small she is, because she is small already, but she's also small for her age, so he's just concerned about when they're walking and carrying all their stuff, how will she be able to keep up and how won't she complain, and he's just really worried about that. And going along with that, she has a possibility of getting bored and noisy, because most young kids don't have the patience and the attention span that comes along that you need for hunting. And so he's really concerned about her scaring the animals away and getting bored. And the sad thing is that Mac, Charlie's son, watches his dad do this to Andy and watches him talk bad about her, so he eventually starts to join in and make fun of her as well, which really tears down her confidence when someone the opposite gender, as well as close in age, starts to make fun of her for the same reasons. And the second point that I noticed is the discrimination against gender. Andy's a girl, and she's a little girl, and he wonders why she isn't at home playing with princesses or dolls or helping her mom cook at home and clean. But instead she enjoys to go hunting and fishing with her dad, and that's not the typical activity that you see a young girl take part in. And she also has the name Andy. Her real name is Andrea, but most people call her Andy, and she has no complaints about either name. And her dad even starts to joke about how he calls her Andy and like how she is his little boy, even though he fully knows that she is his little girl. And that really takes a toll on her when her dad starts to join in and make fun of her, even though that is not the intention that he's trying to do at all. And another small point that I really noticed, it's not a main point at all, but it's talking about the wives cooking, and that's the only time you hear the moms and the wives mentioned, is when in the morning Andy's mom is cooking, and later in the story when they're eating the food that Charlie's wife cooked. And so it's just kind of putting the women in the box. I know back in the day that's all that they did, and so it's really just an interesting part that the author threw into the story about discriminating the gender of the wives and the moms. And then finally, we notice the feeling of acceptance that Andy experiences. She has to shoot the deer. She's the only one who's seen the deer, and so it's her shot. And her dad really encourages her and reminds her of the practice that she had when it came to shooting and how well she really does do at that shooting. And even though Charlie has brought her confidence down, the fact that her dad can believe in her and still encourage her really helps her when it comes to shooting this deer. And when she does shoot the deer, she shoots it at first, but then they can't find it because it continues to run away. And so they have to wait until the next morning, and Charlie is already bringing her down and saying how it's a waste of his time and a waste of his energy to go look for it. But they finally find the deer and that next morning, and Charlie jokes around how she's the only one that brought the animals around, and so he gives her that feeling of acceptance when he says she should come around and he should keep her next to him when they go on the trip. And she no longer feels like she's out of place. she feels like she truly belongs on that trip and that she didn't feel like she was a bother to them. And this picture that I included kind of represents that. Humans, when they feel chained to one spot, when people are bashing them and bringing down their confidence, and so they're really just looking for that key to acceptance, to get loose and to finally feel free and be who they can be and who they want to be. Just to tie it all together, like I said, discrimination is really present in the world today and plays an important role in how not only everyone else sees who we are, but who we see who we are when we look in the mirror. And Andy really was doubted and worried about her capability, even though she did practice many times before her shooting. And she learns that it's okay to be who she is, and she accepts that for herself, even if she is not like every other little girl. And the fact that she's able to prove to Charlie and Mac that she can hold her place and she can do well and be who she is, then that really just helps her gain her confidence. And also everyone loves to see the villain of the story be proved wrong and that happy ending that comes along with that.